morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses. He is Greg Wolf. I'm Andy Serling, and it's good to be back home. Always good to be back home.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a while since we've done this. Brand new meet starts.
Yeah, we're at the Aqueduct meet. No more Belmont at the Big A until late April, early May. But anyway, back from a good time at the Breeders' Cup. Had a nice time in your old stomping grounds of Del Mar. You know what's weird about Del Mar? There were a couple of times when I was heading down to the box area, right down front to watch, walking by the winner's circle. It looks a lot like Santa Anita. And there were moments that my brain was confused thinking I was at Santa Anita.
Okay.
The down, by the winner's circle, that area where the boxes are, they're sort of low down there.
Okay.
I don't know why, but
How was it in terms of just crowd size and all that? Was it tough to get around?
No, not at all. I think they had 36,000 on Breeders' Cup Day, and it was crowded on Friday too. I was surprised. No problems at all. You know, it was easy to get around. I mean, there were some places a little more crowded, but no problem getting a drink or whatever you needed. It was a fun time. I think, the Derby and the Breeders' Cup are such different events. You've been to the Derby, I assume.
I've not.
The Derby is Americana. The Derby is when we go to the racetrack and other places, people obviously watch the show, they see us. The Derby, nobody cares because it's not a lot of racing fans. It's not a hardcore racing fan event.
Yeah.
It's more of a fun gathering, like an Indy 500 probably, things like that. Whereas the Breeders' Cup is a racing fan event, and you feel like you're in an event with a lot of people that love the game the way you do, and it's always enjoyable to be there.
Yeah.
And some good races as well.
Opening day Del Mar is a little bit like Derby Day too. It's a lot of people just there for the social event. It's packed. You can barely move, but yeah. Days like that, those are the fun days when you're with the people that love the sport and want to be there and know it.
Yeah, no question. No, it was really a good time and always enjoyed it.
I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah, and it's nice there. A lot of good restaurants, and they're all sort of by the ocean, and it's just a nice atmosphere. So it was a lot of fun.
Hard not to have a good time at Del Mar.
It really is, and the races were good. I thought a lot of we've been fans of More Than Looks for a while. I was glad to see him win, and Sierra Leone got his revenge, but fierceness really gained in defeat, as a lot of good horses do, right?
Yeah.
He showed that he could withstand a quick pace and still be around. Now, I don't think that it's a race that fell apart as much as people think. Forever Young was probably too close to the pace.
Yeah,
that
was
was
surprising he was that close.
And ran a respectable race. It didn't really fall apart, but it was a fast pace. And Sierra Leone, a horse that's often victimized by his lack of speed, was able to take advantage in this case.
So, great debate. Now, who's going to be 3-year-old champ?
I don't think it'll be close.
I think there's a huge argument for either way.
Well, but the thing is, the voters vote for the Breeders' Cup, and I think if you start taking them apart, Greg, the Bluegrass and Florida Derby, they're a wash, right?
No, I don't.
Well,
think so.
I would say Sierra Leone was better because he beat a real field. He beat Dornoch, and I think there were a couple of future claimers. Why was his race better?
The Florida Derby was the fastest race any 3-year-olds run all year by a mile. It wasn't even close.
I know, getting loose at Gulfstream
But
Park.
yeah, he got loose, but that was the fastest race we've ever seen anyone in this
Okay, I'll give you another
run.
question. How would you compare his Holy Bull and his Florida Derby as a package compared to winning with the Risen Star, which was the keyest race of the entire 3-year-old prep season, which he won, and then his Bluegrass?
Yeah, but you can't pick apart a race, one race here, one race there.
Sure you can. Well, no, we'll start with them. They're the first two starts of the season. And anybody that argues that Fierceness was better is just a Fierceness fan and refuses to admit it, because he won the Risen Star. Fierceness was an awful third in the Holy Bull. Is that at least fair?
No, that's fair, absolutely.
So then the Derby. One gets beaten in the nose, the other one finishes 15th.
One got beaten in the nose who should have been DQ'd.
And run third, beaten in the nose.
But he did,
but he was beaten.
He was the most consistent 3-year-old of the year. I give you that, no question.
Yeah. And the other argument I make is people talk about the fast pace in the Breeders' Cup, which is perfectly fair. Perfectly fair to say I think that Fierceness ran the best race. You can't say that and then ignore that he set slow pace. He was on a slow pace in the Travers and a moderate pace in the Jim Dandy, and Sierra Leone was compromised by it and still ran his race. I mean, is that really unfair?
Somewhat, yeah.
I mean, I think it's an interesting debate, and I think they're both deserving horses. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's not like I think Fierceness isn't deserving. Just having watched the voters over the years,
no, I agree.
Way too much emphasis on the Breeders'
Classic
Cup.
winner's probably going to win it.
Probably,
I think it's a lot
instance,
closer than that, but people are not going to pick it apart like that.
Probably people will give Torpedo Anna the best filly this year just because she won the Breeders' Cup.
I know. What has she done the rest of the year?
I know. She's a bum. She is a lock for Horse of the Year.
I think so, too.
And she's a flawed choice, but to me, the clear-cut choice this year.
Yeah.
I don't even know who you'd give it to if you didn't give it to her.
Had Cogburn won, he probably would have been in the mix, right? But he didn't.
I think he would have, yeah.
I agree with you.
And she was, besides being terrific this year, and her Breeders' Cup was a good effort. I mean, obviously it was an easy race for her, but she ran well. She had a consistency throughout the year, and she also was the story in racing in 2024.
No question. I think it's a slam dunk.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not, I know she lost the Travers, and she lost to a horse that a lot of people believe is arguably one of the real contenders for Horse of the Year, which I wouldn't argue against. So, fierceness. I mean, I think the finalists will probably be, they'll be Torpedo Anna and Sierra Leone, and I mean, who's going to be a finalist for Horse of the Year besides fierceness?
Yeah, I mean, had he won that Classic, he probably would have been Horse of the Year, right?
Oh, I think he would have been.
Yeah.
And I think he probably would have deserved it. I think it would have been close between him and the filly, right? Philly has a big following.
She still had
Yeah. Anyway, good conversation, good races. All right, head over to Naira Bets. We'll talk about the races here in a few moments, too. We have 8 of them. First Thursday of racing since Saratoga without a carryover, right?
Wow, really?
Yeah, this Sunday was the only time it was hit.
Wow.
There were uncovered horses, I think, in the last race. Look at that, Flavian Pratt. I think that argument's over.
If it's not, it should be.
Anybody that doesn't think he has the Eclipse Award this year is kidding themselves, and look how happy he looks. Bonus 200. We are on the Aqueduct meeting. We'll give you a $200 sign-up bonus. A happy man there. What silks are those? Do you know? Track Stats, check them out when you're there as well. Also, we have a feeder contest this Saturday, the weekly Saturday contest, $300 buy-in. Every Friday, we have a feeder contest. That's a hint there, Eddie. I know you're sleeping. There we go. $40 buy-in. That's tomorrow. Get all the information on that, nairabets.com/contests. Who would you give Turf Force to? It's an ugly choice. It's hard to give it to Carl Spackler, right?
Yeah.
He and Farbridge have 2 Grade 1 wins. Hard to give it to more than looks, much as I love him.
I know. I don't know what you do there.
How about older? You know who's going to win the older horse, dirt horse? The show is on from 4 to 12 to 4, by the way.
I'm on the entire show.
You are?
Yeah.
I'm on with you for a while, so.
I look forward to it.
I look forward to it as well. I guess National Treasure. I mean, he won the Pegasus, and he won the Met Mile. I think that no one should win this year. Don't get me wrong. I literally think they should just leave. I think in years that are this flawed, name a horse, an older horse in the dirt, that's more deserving than National Treasure. His ride, right? I mean, he's a one-hit wonder. Not Island Falls.
I don't think you can give it to Arthur's Ride. You're probably right.
I mean, you start looking at it, he has the most credentials, and he's badly flawed. I mean, he ended his year with a disaster in the Whitney and a loss in the race formerly known as the Goodwood. Can we call those races by their original names? The Goodwood, the Norfolk,
I know.
the Don.
I miss those, yeah.
I know. It really breaks my heart. Awesome again, though. He did have a special career at Santa Anita. He never ran there. Race number 1. I am bookending today's card, Greg, with horses that don't win.
Okay.
One of whom you picked last time. That's a hint to the last
Oh, I
race.
think I picked him again, yeah.
Well, we got him today. So we'll take a look. Greg loves Moore's Law. We'll take a look at the win last time. I will tell you that before this race was won, Greg told me that Moore's Law was going to win. He didn't bet a nickel on him, and Tom Amos made a big bet on him.
Oh.
And Tom was a little steamed. He had just run a 2-year-old that they thought would run well, ran badly, and then he made a big bet on Moore's Law. And I said to him, that bet has a little look of esteem to me. And he said, yeah, I was steaming. But he got it done. Is he going to get enough pace to run at here?
Yeah, it's a big question. And look, it's a stablemate that's going to be probably loose on the lead, Army Times, who I actually really thought long and hard about taking in here because this one is going to be controlling the pace.
Isn't Parisi supposed to go, though? I mean, he's been involved in some fast paces. You would think he'd go a little.
I guess.
I couldn't tell if the rail was bad last time. He was right down on the rail, Army Times, until late in the stretch. I thought about him a little, too. But go ahead with Moore's Law.
I thought long and hard about Summer Cause, too. I think that horse is going to step up, and he did win at 1 1/8. But in the end, Moore's Law, his figure was just so much bigger than any one of the. Everyone's got to kind of get to where he is. That performance from him was huge. Again, it's going to be, is there pace set up for him? And then the time away, Is that a concern?
No, I think it's hard to find races for him, to be
Yeah?
honest. I don't think he was. I think he could have run. I just think where are the races he could have
Yeah.
run in, you know?
Just the
Probably
move was
waiting
so
for a mile and an eighth race, now where's the 2.
Yeah, the move was just really impressive too. That long, sustained move around the turns continued all the way through the stretch. I mean, this horse just once he gets going, has a pretty big motor.
He's always been a horse that I've sort of had a fondness for, and it's funny. I remember after he ran so badly in May, there was a conversation about whether or not he should be dropped in for a tag, and Chad Brown was insistent that he's a good horse and that we need to give him more chances, and he really showed it last time. I'm going to take Costa Terra, and I know Costa Terra just doesn't win, and his last race is a bit of a problem. I will say, and I'm not blaming Jose Ortiz, not Jose Ortiz, Jose Lozcano rode him last time, because you sort of try to mix it up. He's not a speed horse, and he was too close to pace early last time out. And overall, he has run consistent figures good enough to win here. And I understand. He's a horse I have trouble taking as well, and he also is a horse that needs pace, much like Moore's Law. I think Moore's Law is a little bit more of a plotter than he is, and I just thought maybe he'd be a better price today, and so I'd give him a chance off a race that I think isn't as bad as it looks.
You take that last race out for him, and he's probably the horse to beat.
That's what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah. Just for me, yeah, I mean, Moore's Law, I thought there were excuses, and that's why I liked him in that last race, too. Just the kind of company he'd faced, just way over his head in terms of really good horses, and he came off the bench. I forgave him against going off, what, a 9-month layoff facing Film Star, leading contenders to Kiel. That was just way too tough a group, and then we saw what he could do last start. But you're right, he will need pace, and Parise probably can be close, if not push. Summer Cause, I do think is interesting.
I think he'll go a bit too, don't you? Summer Cause with Romero from the rail?
Yeah, I mean, that was slow fractions, wasn't it, last start when he was on the lead?
They were. But on the other hand,
But
he's
they
got the
gotta try
rail
and
and he's not
send,
that
yeah.
slow, and you got to sort of at least lead for position.
No question.
And Romero's
And that
not
first
exactly
turn's
a
immediate.
take-back rider, right? So we'll see what happens in the first. Interesting race to start it out, and we'll be starting in front of the stand, so the crowd, the massive crowd out front, will be really excited by that.
That's fun.
We got a good crowd here at Aqueduct. I
Yeah.
kid, but we got a good crowd. Race number 2. Race number 2. It feels like there will be some pace in this race, and we'll start with showing a video of the horse that you have on top, my Matoli's debut. And, of course, he's got Social Hour inside of him. You'd think stretching out to a mile is probably the speed, but I can't imagine he's going to go behind him. And you had Carlos Martin on top and your Cold Superfecta.
I
Friend of
did.
the devil. Don't you
Yeah.
think it was appropriate that with Phil Lesh passing away that the Grateful Dead horse would win that week? It was kismet.
It was all, everything came together
Greg's
beautifully.
cold pick 4. Superfecta in an impossible race. Go ahead.
Yeah, look, my Matoli was favored first time out, so there was expectations. Wound up getting beat by a stablemate that day for Carlos Martin.
Correct.
But yeah, was closer to the pace that day, and for some reason, next time out, obviously that was an incredibly tough race.
Fast
Menti was
pace,
in there,
yeah.
colloquial track record. I'm gonna forgive him that 5th beat 11 length performance that day. But again, 2 sprints. I love stretching out to the route of ground, get that foundation in there. I think he can be tactically closer like he was in that debut. And the Dam, who was 0 for 1 on synthetic sprinting, did produce a winner on dirt at a mile. They ran a Saudi 7 buyer. Produced a 4-time winner on dirt, another 2-time winner on dirt. Second Dam was a grade 2 placed.
How about
started out the career 3 for 4.
The 2 sprints to a route? The fact that it's a 5-month layoff doesn't bother you? Doesn't that mitigate a little bit? He's a
little bit.
Matoli. I worry about the fact he's got to deal with Social Hour, who I think is the horse to beat. We both have him second, but isn't he kind of the horse to beat? He faced a lot better horses. I mean, Jonathan's Way, by the way, a clever decision to rate him in the Breeders' Cup and incentive pay. I mean, they're 2 of the better 2-year-olds we saw this year.
Yeah, no question. And this horse is probably going to at least attempt to get loose. I do think we're going to see speed on the inside from that. I don't think the horse has any ability to win, but that the horse has shown sprint speed.
Really?
Papa Nico's boy, hasn't he?
Okay. Well, it is Silvera, and he does like to send. Possible. I thought Social Hour would be in front in here. And I have the one in there, Papa's Nico boy, because it's Eddie Barker.
Okay.
I mean, his barn has just been en fuego. It's everything he's running is running well. And, I mean, Paxational won again. Sort of incredible, to be honest. I'm going to take Salvation. This is a Linda Rice horse. I think will be at least a reasonable price, I'm hoping, in here. And the first race wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. It was going a mile. First race off the turf. Tried the turf. Not a turf horse. Maybe a dirt horse. Gets the mile here. Should get some pace. And I thought this one was just a different face to take as opposed to the 2 and 3, who probably are the logical horses in here.
Yeah.
We'll see. What about America's Honor? I wasn't a big fan. You've got the horse 3rd. I know he was 2nd last time. I don't love the field that he was in last time.
I think when I got beyond my first couple selections in here. I think I mean, you made a case for the 8, but it's a bit of a guessing game. I think it was tough for me to kind of fill out underneath. But yeah, America's Honor. I just think we'll have to see. Is this horse a closing sprinter, or can this horse handle a little bit more ground? At least the horse's run figures and going in the right direction for a good barn.
Agreed. By the way, I have not heard back from our friend Mike Joyce. I heard him say before the Breeders' Cup races on the simulcast that the over-under on Japanese horses winning was 2.5 races. And I texted him and said, I want to bet the under for as much as you'll take. Yeah. I have not heard back from him, which I think means he took like $1,000, don't you?
Oh, I'm sure that was the minimum, yeah.
Yeah, so
if not more.
We'll probably get it from him.
Yeah, so much hype about Coro Siege, the turf sprinter, and he had traffic trouble
He got left. He didn't break, so it was over, right?
Yeah.
I think that there was a general misconception that the Japanese were going to come in here and just crush us. And I think, let's say they had a Breeders' Cup in Japan, and we had 15 horses, and I think they brought 19. They were easily competitive on a neutral court with their horses. Do you really think we'd go over there and win a bunch of races? It's tough, man. Yeah. And their success in America was a little bit misconstrued. They won a race they shouldn't have won because We're Like Goddess got a bad ride, and they won the craziest distaff ever by a nose.
Lorraine had what?
Right, 100 to 1 or 50 to 1 or what? And it just, I mean, the Japanese horse ran well in the turf. Forever Young ran well also in the Classic. I think,
but it's what they've done. Yeah, internationally, they're having all this success, and everyone's thinking, okay, this wave is coming. But
it's still tough.
I don't know. There weren't maybe the horses, and their horse in the turf ran pretty good.
Yeah, ran a good second. Could have won the race actually. Didn't get the best of trips. They're hard races to win, and I think a lot of people, you head there, and it's like you've done well during the year, and you don't realize how much more difficult these races are. I mean, they are the best horses running in there, and it's not easy to win them, and that's why I think it's a big deal if you do win them. And I'm sure the Japanese will win a Breeders' Cup race going forward, but I think to suggest that they were going to win, 20% of our races in Breeders' Cup Day is a little bit silly. Yeah, in my opinion, that's all. I thought.
I hope. I don't know what the plans are. I haven't read anything about it. I hope we see more of Forever Young.
He's coming back. They're talking about running him in Saudi, I think, which is where I know they'd like to run Fierceness and Sierra Leone.
He's been sensational.
No, I agree. And I think he might oddly be kind of the one you want out of that race, right? Because he was closer to the pace than you expected.
Shockingly close.
Yeah, they're weird. Yeah, I think they were. I don't know why they wouldn't think there'd be a pace. Anyway, race number 3. Big scratch of Malu coming out of here.
Huge.
I think the horse you have on top, Maggie's Palace, is the horse to beat. We'll take a look at her second race. She's really improved for Jimmy Ryerson.
Yeah, look, this is the second last time out.
It is.
Just trending in the right direction for me. A 3-year-old filly that looks like that she is getting better. I don't worry about that mile and 1/8 race against Landed and Dolomite. That's probably not a distance she wants to go, and it's pretty tough 1-2 punch she was facing that day. When she's been sprinting or a mile against this level of competition, or even a little bit stronger, she's been very solid. And I think certainly Maggie T wants to go in this spot.
Isn't Bustin Bay going to be a bit forward here? Maybe even Brown Sugar Babe showing some speed?
I think sets up nicely. And Lavon, I just think is a little bit too slow, but one that is not going to be too far out of it. So I think could get a good setup.
I have nothing against her. The only thing I'll say is she's been, a good price in all of her races, some of them very big prices. And now the cat's kind of out of the bag, and she's the morning line favorite. And I thought, I don't need her as the morning line favorite. And
7-2.
Yeah, but still the morning line favorite. And it's just and we'll see. It's as David has the lines so close that anything could sort of happen. I'm going to go back to Miss Lau. Now, I understand when Miss Lau won last time, part of what happened in that race was the heavy favorite not running well. That bot horse.
Geopolitics.
I was going to say globalization. Having said that, she probably wasn't beating this horse anyway. And I've seen Dennis Lawman with these horses too frequently over the years. They'll win first time for Dennis, and when he gets them, and then they improve, like a Mosienko, if you go going back through her PPs and how much she improved for Dennis. And I'm not sure she can't have another improvement off that. And I thought, you know what, she'll be a square price again. And I got mad love for Dennis and the horses he does there. And I didn't want Bustin Bay, who, doesn't it feel a little like Bustin Bay's career could be kind of on the wrong side?
Seems going the wrong way. I mean, I didn't even have this horse in my top 4 until the scratch.
Me too.
Malou.
Yeah. I looked at it.
Manny, by the way, on the 7 on Miss Lau.
Yeah, I guess Joel not here, or maybe getting here later. It's interesting. I looked up Boston Bay when I first looked at it. I said maybe she hasn't run well at Saratoga in the past, but no, she ran well there in 2023. So it's not a Saratoga thing, and I think there has to be some real cause for pause with her. But if she was able to find her old form, she would crush.
Oh,
these
no
horses,
question.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't like her. Where are you with Mosienko?
I think you have to use this horse. I don't. I have Maggie's Palace on top. I don't trust anyone in here a whole lot. Major player in this race. Just fact from the record. It's a Rad Ortiz Jr. for Dutrow, and that last start.
She was bad last time. That bothered
That was
me.
tougher though, wasn't it?
It was I don't know. It was a tougher race as it turned out. She was bad, and she ran very well against the bias 2 races back. She has run well at a mile in the past, but her recent mile races are sort of some of her worst efforts. That worries me a bit, but I agree. She can obviously win this race. This was a good race.
I think for the most part, she's been facing a lot tougher than many of these.
That's very fair. I agree. We'll break after 4, where Good Mission, who I think was one of the horses to beat, is scratched in race number 4. And I'm not going to buck it. The numbers with Bill Morey claiming on the turf at Naira are off the charts, ridiculous. He's 4 for 4, including the improvement of that horse he claimed from Rossio de Paz that won here the other day. She had broken her maiden up in Saratoga the last race on closing day, riding a gold rail and getting a 61 buyer. She was claimed, she ran a 79 buyer off the claim for him, 18 points higher, and she was 4 wide without cover the entire way around the racetrack.
I think we were on for that race.
Yeah, I think she, no, I was not on. I was not with you, no. I was behaving badly during that race. She improved a conservative dozen lengths out of that race, and I'm not going to try to buck it with a horse for a trainer that just seems to be moving these horses up in the turf remarkably. Tour Jeté was the horse. So I don't know.
Is that when you stormed into my office?
No, you were on air. I was not on air. You were on air.
Okay.
I was storming somewhere else. So I'm just not trying to beat this. I'm not. I see a freight train coming, and I'm not going to be in the way of it. But you seem to feel differently.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, made this starts. By the way, the late pick 5. You have to use that horse with what you've said. Yeah. I thought there was an upside with artistic success from the inside. That one start, Saratoga, was at the state bred maiden 40 level. The bobble at the start was extremely minor. I wouldn't
agree.
even.
I thought it was nothing.
Yeah, but the horse was 3 wide early. Horse was 4 wide around the turn, and I thought was running and still in contention until very, very late in that race.
I agree.
And I think we could definitely see major improvement here, start number 2.
But also, I mean, Majalou was wide too, right? I mean, she was just outside of Majalou, and Majalou ran better. You know what worried me about the one? I agree with you. Obviously, I have her third, and I see the same thing, is that she was 38 to 1 in her debut. It was 38 or 28? 38, I think. That bothered me a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't look at that, but it's like Joe Sharp. It's like
hard to ignore, yeah.
But I agree. The horse ran very well in there. I think the 1 and 3 are the obvious horses.
Yeah, bringing up Maggio, I mean, like, this horse was quick anyway, and now blinker's going on, intentions are clear. They're going to try and steal this race.
Before scratching, this horse is going to be in front.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Majalou is kind of the horse to beat in here from a
I agree.
perspective of the likely winners, but I can't ignore the Morey stats.
And Santana will be aggressive, yeah.
As he is. And like Soretta, okay, fine. Soretta can obviously win. I think an important stat, and this is no, this is not the same as the last race, but these are fillies and those are colts, but I don't know how much different there is between maiden 40s and maiden special weights when you get to this point with these New York bred, maidens, the maiden claimers, right?
Yeah,
the turfs.
it's not as big.
Sometimes you'll get a really good horse, but by this time of the year, they're interchangeable. Soretta's just had so many chances.
5-year-old mare, 0 for 18, is it? Has put together back-to-back numbers where she's paired up, though, and could move forward a little bit, and a little jump could put her in the winner's circle. I mean, she's not impossible by any stretch.
Just has had so many chances.
I agree.
And like you, I prefer ones with less chances. We'll see what happens in race 4, which does kick off the late pick 5. We'll be back with the late pick 4 after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Oh, welcome back to Talking Horses. Greg Wolf and Andy Serling. As we move on to today's card, a rare opening week card without a carryover. Race number 5, where Active Duty came out. It's a funny race number 5. And you picked True Connection, who I picked second. And he's another horse. I'm wondering if he can still run anymore, you know?
It's a big question. Yeah, I mean, this horse started against Maiden Special, was showing some potential. Actually ran against Unmatched Wisdom. Did not run well that day, and then things went south from there, and maybe that just kind of killed this horse's confidence. I do like the fact that, you know, that race for Maiden 52 back last time on dirt showed a little bit life, kind of getting back to the right way. Now comes back with time as a gelding, and that might wake this horse up a little bit at this level.
You know, we've taken horses, you and I, the same 1-2 horses, and they're both closers. And the pace here is, I don't think it's murky because I think Waja and Confabulation are both forward. Part of my reasoning in picking them, and you and I saw this race almost exactly the same, is I've had enough of Waja. I've just had enough of this horse with Chad Brown. Like, okay, Paxational came back and won, but he didn't do any running in there. It's like he's just not very good. Could he win here? Well, of course he could win. But why would I want him at a short price for Chad Brown in here? He's had a lot of chances for Chad. He hasn't been a super short price, but he's taken some money in them, and and isn't Confabulation supposed to be running with him? And I don't like Confabulation at all in this race. I scratched in him for 4th when the 1 came out because I just don't think he's very good. And
I guess that's the argument. I mean, this field is the ripe kind of field to try and pluck, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah. The 5 and 8 just feel like 2 horses are going to take money, and they may run 1-2. I'm not saying they can't, but I don't want to bet either one of them. And I don't think there's much left, especially the scratch of the 1, besides the 3 and 4. It would always be smart. He was on a track last time that was very favorable to speed horses. He lost to a Safi Joseph horse, and Safi was on this massive run. He's run fast enough races. It's the first time for Linda Rice on a dry track. He's got a little break since the last race. I took him to pick up the pieces at the end.
You go back. Look, you go back to 2 back. He was on a sloppy seal track his last start, so I'm not going to hold that against him. He 2 back, walked out of the gate. He was last out of there. He's 7 wide. He always gets out bad, or he's just so slow coming out.
No,
he has issues. Immediately he's going to be up against it from the outset because that is his MO.
That's fair.
But if that wasn't the case, he was my top pick.
I'm going to use 3 and 4 in this race in the pick 5 and live and die with them.
Yeah.
That's just the way I want to go in here. They're the ones I want. We'll see what happens. The others can win. I cannot endorse them.
The Confabulation just wilted down the stretch last start.
That was not a good field. The other speed finished second there. The winner sat third. I'm not saying he can't win, but I'm not a fan of his. Race number 6. Thought this was an extremely tricky race. And we'll start showing the replay 2 back of the horse you picked on top. I picked second, Mon Petit Choux, who just gets a needed class relief. And I think this being claiming $10,000 is an important point in the discussion of the race. It's the bottom level.
It's the bottom level, and the last time she's 6-year-old mare now was at the bottom level, she won. And I'm assuming this is the winner. She was favored in this spot. She was on a sloppy seal track out of this against a big jump up from 10 to 20. A little bit too tough a spot. It was almost, 7.5 to 1 that day. So back to a realistic spot where this barn, second now off the claim, knows she can win because she just did it. But also just remarkably, for this kind of level, pretty remarkably consistent. We know what we're going to get. She's probably going to run a race. And usually that race against this group is going to be good enough to win or be right there.
I have no argument. She's the most logical horse in here. The one thing that worries me a little bit is there's a lot of speed in here. The 3 can be forward. The 4 can be forward. The 6 can be forward. And she's a forward horse. Now, she did win stalking in the last race that we showed. But she's going to be at least attending or close to a pace that may be a bit rapid. And I worry this race could get a little bit late. And I don't know how that's going to affect things and who's going to win. And as far as bank on Anna, there is a very strong chance, and I know David has both the 7 and 8, 5-1. I'm going to disagree with him there. I don't know how anybody's looking at the 8 and looking at the 7 and betting them at the same odds. I'm going to disagree. He's usually right when he does this. He's also got the 3 favored. Do you see the 3 you've got her 4th? I had her nowhere, Lace Edition. She's not a
people are
dirt
going to
horse.
look at that only dirt start and say, hey, she's undefeated on dirt. For me,
Right.
it was way
Dry
too slow. Dry dirt. Sorry, fast track.
And I get dropping her. She's a 5-year-old. It's turning 6. She's turning 6 soon. She doesn't have any chances to turf sprints in New York bred until
But still, that performance was
May
in June. It
or
wasn't that long
May.
ago.
So I get the drop. It's a big drop, and she is dropping to the bottom in here. But I don't think she's really a dirt horse, and I also think she's going to be part of a pace that's going to be pretty quick.
Yeah.
I thought Mon Petit Choux was the favorite and the horse to be in here. Maybe I misread it. David's usually right. I was surprised by his morning line in here, to be honest with you. As far as Bank on Anna, she's never run this low before. Now, is it possible she just can't run anymore? I don't think it's possible. I think it's likely. I mean, she's been bad for a long time. But sometimes these drops to the bottom have a way of waking horses up. And so for that reason, I'm giving her a chance in here. I know she finished behind Jackson's Dixie. I kind of want to see it again from Jackson's Dixie. Because if the last race is true, she's dangerous. But how's her form before that?
It's awful.
You know, you've got the 5-second IRA 4th Vegas weekend. She was down towards the rail, which wasn't the place to be last time. Her last race was good. I will give her that. She's dangerous.
She's got several races, I think that are make her
rail.
incredibly dangerous, but they've been a longer distances. But if you go way, way back, she's actually been very competitive sprinting too. So I'm not concerned about the distance for her.
And there should be some hitting in here.
Yeah.
She's a very logical horse in here. I think the 6 is not impossible. Boss Lady Kim. A lot of horses can win. You have the 10 finishing third, a horse I hadn't considered. But this is not a barn that I'm normally taking. They're just a low percentage barn in general.
Yeah, it's another one that's just dropping back down. I know it's been at this level before and has not been.
Well, she ran a competitive third to Mon Petit Choux.
She did, and she's making the equipment change. First time in her career, I believe, that blinkers are coming off, and from that outside post, I think can sit stock behind the. If people gun out there, can get really good position, and if she can settle and relax, finish better than she ever has.
And I'm glad the race stayed together because I think it's a super competitive race with a lot of horses that have a chance to win. So I'm looking forward to this. Race number 7. I was glad to see Rhiannon back. This filly, Rhiannon, will show her turf debut where she somehow paid $9 and should have paid $4, was extraordinarily impressive. And when she came back off a maiden win in the Pebbles, she was wide around the track on a day you need to be saving ground. So she does have an excuse in her next start. She, to me, I know it's the layoff, but Chad Brown's layoff stats over the last year, they're incredible. Almost a $4 ROI, 9 for 24, the 390s, 2 ROI, year plus 250 plus layoffs and turf routes. They come back and run, and she's the horse to beat. I just didn't want to pick her on top as the favorite.
We're probably both being foolish here because she's pretty good.
Well, I put her second. I'm not against her. I just wanted to take somebody else that had an idea on a better price.
I put her 4th. She could
Really?
very easily win this race. Very easily win this race.
Not a Fleetwood Mac fan? Is that what it is?
No, I love Fleetwood Mac. You kidding me? Love Fleetwood Mac.
Do you know that I had tickets to see them at SPAC in 78. And I went on a bike trip up to Canada. One of those, it was really fun, actually. It's one of those things that you didn't want to go on as a kid, and people tell you you're going to appreciate it older, and they were right.
Really?
So I scheduled the trip. There were 2 of them so that I could see Fleetwood Mac and then go. And then I think somebody got sick, and they had to cancel it, and they postponed it to while I was on the bike trip. I'm still 1978. I'm still pissed about it.
I would be too.
I never saw them in concert,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Sorry about that.
I know. It's a moment. I'm glad we shared it, and we shared it together.
But look, just natural progression from 3 to 4 from this barn probably makes this one the winner. But still, just the races to me, even though this gaudy 7-length win,
It's not a layover.
Not at all. There's
No.
several. I mean, Spinning Colors has races that are as fast. But
race
if
two back is
Rhiannon
very good.
improves 3 to 4 and moves forward, then it's a different story. But there's a couple in here that fit. I thought Roswell, the 2, is very interesting in here with the pedigree, too.
Which is what?
So the Dam was 4 for 8 on the grass.
She was good.
All those wins were great at stakes victories. She was a Group 1 winner on Synthetic, the Spinster.
Her production has been pretty lousy.
It's not been great.
Oh, I
Second-
love Tacoma. Tacoma was Grand Motion, I want to say.
Was it?
I think so. Not
Second dam even was a minor stakes winner on the grass. So getting this one on
It's the Courtly D family. Sorry to interrupt. It's the Courtly D family. It's a great turf.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that one.
Into Mischief's good turf. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. So what do you like about Revelita? Because I've given up on her. It's like a money burner to me.
I like the fact that over Rhiannon, and I'm probably wrong here, but at least has the recency. Races are in the ballpark figure-wise with what Rhiannon's done to this point so far, and she has the ability that I think third start of her campaign here, with those starts under her belt, that she can move forward.
She broke a little slow last time. I didn't love her race. I thought she should have been better, but I'm not going to say she obviously can win this race. I want to show Awesome Check, who I have on top, because I think the strength is the 8, 9, and 10. They're the three that I want here. Awesome Check, they missed it in the chart. She stumbles badly after the start of this race. And a horse who can be a lot more forward just loses all position whatsoever. And it really was bad because it took her out. You see she's kind of running off a little bit on Silvera at this point, and he's getting position. And listen, she still finished reasonably well. And this was a race that weird Euro hadn't run well, ran that huge race first time in the country for Chad Brown. The horse who was second, Valencia's win over the weekend, is obviously pretty good. I thought she ran remarkably well when you consider the start of this race. And is she good enough? I'm not sure. But I didn't think she was that far off it, and I thought this last race was a lot better than it looks. So at what should be a decent price, I put her on top.
I loved her too in her first start at Saratoga when she's coming to that Open Company Wild Applause. That was such a huge miss for me because I loved her that day, and I didn't get enough coverage around her
I boxed
to
her
take
with
advantage.
box wine, so I got a little wine.
Yeah,
on that one.
but no, I'm with you. I think she's a player. I think Vino Rouge for me, who's going to take money in here, I think
go ahead.
is a little bit slow for this group.
It's interesting. We'll show her. I have her third, so I never top. We'll show her race 2 back. She got DQ'd. The reason I think she's interesting is she gets his rider switch to Dylan Davis, and she ran very well in here. Now, how strong this race ultimately was, well, Dancing Dean was okay out of it, you know, and I think it was a pretty good race. I thought she was best in here. It was a fair DQ, but I still think she ran the best race of everybody, and I benefited from the DQ. She got a silly trip last time. I mean, first of all, mile 3/16 might be stretching it for her. But second of all, it's the same kind of lax riding that caused her to lose a race 3 back that she probably should have won. Just letting others go, parking out 3 wide around both turns, sort of just never really giving her a chance. And she probably didn't want a mile 3/16 anyway. But I thought she was really compromised in her last start, and it makes her look worse than she is.
Okay, I just thought even on her best races that those
She might not be good enough.
figures coming up a little bit light, but
She is light on time
Yeah.
form. She's close on buyers. You're right. Spinning Colors ran huge 2 back. I think Can't Fool Me. The 3 isn't impossible in this race. She finished behind
the
Spinning
4, yeah.
Colors, but she ran very well in her next start. This is a good race. I mean, a lot of times the late season allowance, especially type races, will come up super strong like this because you're getting to a point. And for people that don't know, we have 8 more days of turf racing. We may have some weather. I saw some weather for the first time
That's all we have
ever.
left?
Yeah, we're done. November 17th is the last day. Next Thursday, there was some rain in my phone. It was a little confusing because I can't remember the last time I looked at my phone and there was rain in it. Can you?
no.
No,
You've been
now
very
they're
lucky.
saying only 35% chance of rain, and let's look. Well, 35% chance of a full day of rain. So
Now
that's,
remember, yeah, totally different scenario. But last year I think we did get
we got 11 inches of rain in
Yeah.
5 weeks, the first 5 weeks of the meet.
and late final week of the meet, it was huge bias towards speed on the grass, but probably going to be totally different this year with the weather's been totally different.
We came here with early biases, and they've gone away for the most part. It did rain, by the way, Saturday night at Del Mar.
Did it really?
Yeah, it didn't rain during the race at all.
Wow.
But it started to sprinkle as we were going to dinner right after the races, and it was raining kind of hard for a while.
Thank you, Mother Nature, for holding that off.
Right, so it does rain. Right,
Yeah.
there was a sick part of me that kind of wanted to rain during the Breeders' Cup, so I didn't have to hear from you guys from California that why would Joyce in the Breeders' Cup there? It never rains. Didn't it rain at Santa Anita? It rained at one of the California Breeders' Cup, just a little bit. Nothing
Did it?
major. I think there was some rain at some point relatively recently. Race number 8 is, I told you, I warned you that I bookended the card with horses that never win, and Greg went back to him because he picked them last time.
Overdue angle.
And well, let's show his last race. We're spoken bluntly, and I bet spoken bluntly, so I'm a little bitter. got run down. And Spoken Bluntly is probably the horse to beat off of that effort. But I'm not sure that he's getting the lead from all of a sudden Lee, who has a lot of speed. So I'm not sure it's going to be the same trip as last time. Why do you like Scherzando back here?
So, look, yeah, Spoken Bluntly was quick in this race. This horse actually pressured him for a long time in here. I think this horse is more effective sitting off, being a little bit further behind the pace, and then making that run. That's how we've seen this horse be effective in the past. And I think with Jose Lezcano, that's what we're going to see today from Scherzando. And plus, that was the first start in 6 months for this horse. Had every right to weaken late.
Right. I'll go a step further. By the way, we've seen better performances, but he still hangs like a chandelier. I mean, he really is kind of an embarrassment in that respect. And I joke because my friend Steve Bick owns him, and I'd love to see him win for him regardless. I feel it was a perfect prep last time. What better way off of – I remember watching the race and thinking, who is pressing my horse? And thinking, of all the horses that are going to press me, Scherzando, who has no speed. So maybe that was the intention. Maybe
and a good speed. I mean, they went 22 and 1, 44 and 4.
Maybe he needed the race, and maybe that's the perfect way to get a tightener. As you say, you pick up Jose, and maybe he was just fresh off the layoff. But I agree. I thought it was a perfect prep for him, and I know he doesn't win, but – I was going to put him second. As you see, I've written down the arrow before him. So I was going to just put him second. And I started looking through it. I said, I don't want Wind Dancer. He came up a gold rail last time. Hard par, okay, I guess he's not impossible.
He was rank and not happy at all early last
Aren't
start.
you a little sick of him? He's got the one big race and a lot of sort of mediocres. And his turf sprints are bad. And I definitely think he can win this race. I think the 5, like you, well, you don't like him at all, is a little dangerous coming off the layoff.
No, I'm not saying I didn't put him top 4, but I do like him.
Yeah, you've got Vitalize in there. David Argona likes him. I hate turnbacks, so I would never bet him on the cutback.
Okay.
But that was a better field last time.
Yep.
I think there's a real chance he's the best horse in the race. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think cutting back, he's going to finish, and he's put up back-to-back starts where he's run the similar figure and can move forward. Got to see if he can sprint, though.
Yeah, I find those horses get overbet. And Spoken Bluntly's okay, but I bet him last time at 6-1, and he's going to be half of that today.
Yeah.
So, all right, we done? We got a lot of time together left. Well, we got to make up for lost time.
We could have very easily day one have a pick 6 carryover.
I thought I found it to be a fun card today, but I was talking to David about it, texting with him the other day, and I said, I don't know about you, but I feel like Thursday, I didn't have, I thought the races were wide open. And I feel like I could have picked 1 of 4 or 5 horses in a lot of races.
Yeah. And there's nowhere to lean, I didn't think at all.
And I think a lot of these lines reflect it, not a lot of huge favorites near and sort of wide open races. So we'll see what happens in today's races. Head over to Naira Bets. You'll be playing them through Naira Bets. If you're not, what's your problem? Look at how happy Flavien Prat is. Look at that.
I mean, he's on top of the world right now.
Riding great. He's riding great. By the way, I want to bring something up about rides. Irad Ortiz people love to beat up on Irad. What did he do wrong in Cogburn? I thought Cogburn just didn't run his race. Hasn't he kind of ridden a bit that way in his recent races?
Yes, he just didn't run his race and he flattened out. That horse usually goes on and finishes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't.
People wanted to. It's like they criticize Irad for taking horses back, and then he goes to. I mean, did he open up a little bit? That's the way he's run. Look at his other races. He just. I wonder if something went wrong. He's been too good this year to stop the way he did. We'll see.
He's been a machine.
But, and listen, Irad has had, no question, a great, great year. And some years would have won the Eclipse Award, but not with the year that Flavien had. And he locked it up in the Breeders' Cup.
And it took him winning those 2 Breeders' Cup races to lock it up. That's how good, again, Irad Ortiz Jr. was.
No question about it. We're very lucky to have both of these guys riding here for a big part of our year. So we're happy for Flavien, and he's a terrific rider and a good guy, and glad to see him get it done. At Track Stats, after you've gotten your deposit bonus, but you're already a member at Naira Bets. Check them out at nairabets.com. Also, the weekly contest is $300 on Saturday, but there's a $40 feed-in every Friday. Feeder, if you want to play. Get all the information on those. You'll have until post time on Friday for that, and Saturday, of course, is the big one. Check the information on nairabets.com/contest. And finally, 4 to 6 today on FS2. We will warn people. There's no show on Saturday.
What did you say? 4 to what?
12 to 4.
Okay, thank you.
12 to 4, thank you. 12 to 4 today and tomorrow. There's no show Saturday. There's a bunch of days this month there are no shows, right?
Yeah, there's like 3 days, I think.
Like 4. There might be 3 Saturdays and maybe a Sunday.
Okay.
But
this Saturday, no show.
No show on Saturday. So we will be showing, of course, on Naira Bets as well. We're done. And Chris Griffin's just getting warmed up. We'll be upstairs, and have a great day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.